to it, baby. Yeah. Top 10 dark last words heard by soldiers. Most amazing top 10. Shout out most amazing top 10. Let's go.
Whether soldiers from the past or present, these people who put their lives on the line for their freedom and what they think is right are incredibly brave. We are diving into stories of soldiers from all over the world today and discussing some of their final words they ever spoke.
What happened to the other guy? Like, y'all remember the guy from, if you watched it, if you were OG in this amazing top 10, y'all remember the, I don't want to get this right, Indian-ish, Middle Eastern-ish. Y'all know the guy I'm talking about. Isn't that Landis? Something like, I forgot it. Dang, I forgot his name. Actually, no, I got to look it up. Because I don't want to forget his name. Because this is important. You know, I'm going to let the vid play.
Or wrote. Let's dive right into the top 10 dark last words heard by soldiers. Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Alexander Prokhorenko. In 2016, Alexander was a senior lieutenant with the Special Armed Forces of the Russian Armed Forces. He was 25 years old at the time and was fighting in the Syrian Civil War. On March
Landon, I was right, Landon. I knew I was right. I knew his name was Landon. I remember, y'all got to hear his name just for old time's sake, because he a legend in this shit.
Basic Top Teners, I'm your host for today, Landon Dallasing, and welcome.
Yo, Landon Dallasing, yo. I knew his name was Landon. That's the GOAT right there. Where he at, man? Landon, where you at? Get back on this shit, man.
March 17th of 2016, during the Palmyra offensive, he found himself surrounded by ISIS militants. Not wanting to be captured alive, and also bravely doing what he thought was best, he ordered an airstrike on his location. His command was slightly confused in the beginning of this order and asked him to confirm his order, and that is when Alexander spoke his final words to command. He said, quote, "They're outside. This is the end, Commander. Thank you. Tell my family and my country I love them. Tell them I was brave and I fought until I could no longer. Please take care of my family. Avenge my death. Goodbye, Commander. Tell my family I love them." Alexander left behind his wife Katya and the child that they were expecting at the time of his death. He was nicknamed the Russian
Kind of look young.
Wife Katya and the
Kind of look young.
Child that they were expecting at the time of his death. He was nicknamed the Russian Rambo after his death and was awarded the title Hero of the Russian Federation for his ultimate sacrifice. In our number 9 spot today, we have Michael Ney. Michael was the first Duke of Elchingen and was the first Prince of Moskva and was a French military commander in the French Revolutionary Wars as well as the Napoleonic Wars. He was even one of the original 18 marshals of the empire that Napoleon I created. After Napoleon was dethroned and exiled in 1815, however, Michael was arrested and tried by the Chamber of Peers for treason. When the verdict was given, 137 peers voted for the death penalty, 17 voted for deportation, 5 abstained, and there was one single vote for acquittal. Unfortunately, this was a majority rule situation, and Michael was sentenced to death by the firing squad. On December 7th, 1815, Michael was put in front of a firing squad, and he refused to wear a blindfold. He was surprisingly given the right to order the fire himself, and before doing so, these are the final words that he spoke. Quote, "Soldiers, when I give the command to fire, fire straight at my heart. Wait for the order, it will be my last to you. I protest against my condemnation. I have fought 100 battles for France and not one against her. Soldiers, fire." I couldn't imagine having to be the one to order your own death, especially when—
No, that's crazy. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That's kind of scary, because it's like, what? I don't, that's some psycho shit, bro. Well, no offense, but like, it just, like, the way he said it, like, I don't know, it's like, I don't know, that's, I don't know.
When you don't want to die, so this one definitely leaves quite an eerie feeling. In our number 8 spot today, we have Gregorio del Pilar. Gregorio was a general of the Philippine Revolutionary Army during the Philippine-American War and is known for being one of the youngest generals in the Revolutionary Army at just the young age of 22 years old. He was nicknamed Boy General and was also known for being quite a ladies' man. In 1896, Gregorio finished his Bachelor of Arts and was going on to complete more education, but when the revolution broke out, he enlisted himself himself for military service. In 1899, the Americans were advancing on the Tire Pass, and this is the battle that unfortunately was Gregorio's last. He was sadly shot in the neck and died almost instantly. While his last spoken words weren't recorded, it was his final diary entry that I want to talk about today. His final entry read, quote, "The general has given me the pick of all the men that can be spared and ordered me to defend the pass. I realize what a terrible task has been given to me, and yet I felt that this is the most glorious moment of my life. What I do is done for my beloved country. No sacrifice can be too great." It obviously shows how incredibly
It's crazy how they sitting here. I don't know if they got the screen in front of them reading this or what, because how is y'all like remembering this on the back of y'all hand like that? Like she just looked straight at the camera and said it as if she just know it. You know what I'm saying? Like what the
dedicated he was to his country, and perhaps he had some sort of inkling that this battle just may be his last. At the end of the day, his legacy certainly lives on. In our number 7 spot today, we have Murray Hudson. Murray Hudson was born in 1938 and was a sergeant with the Royal New Zealand Infantry Regiment. On February 13th, 1974, Murray was a drill instructor and was supervising a training exercise when things took a really dark turn. One of the officers in training, or a non-commissioned officer who was participating in this training exercise, accidentally armed a grenade that he was about to throw. This is obviously an incredibly frightening situation, and one that made the officer completely freeze. After all, what do you really do in that situation? Murray saw him freeze and realized what had happened and ordered him to throw it, which I guess is the smartest move and the only thing that you can do. The officer unfortunately was still frozen and wasn't reacting, so in an attempt to save him...
Is he like, frozen? Was he like in shock? I feel like if he threw a grenade and you like stuck, that means you probably in shock, high shock. You know what I'm saying?
Murray went over and took his hand and tried to release the grenade so that he could throw it. During this process, the grenade unfortunately exploded, which took both of their lives. The final words of Murray were his directions and him saying, "Throw it. Just throw it." Such a tragic event that absolutely could have been avoided. Murray was awarded the George Cross after his passing, which is the highest award bestowed by the British government for gallantry not in the presence of an enemy. In our number 6 spot today, we have Sanada Yukimura. During the Warring States period in Japan, there was one incredibly famous samurai warrior. Sanada Yukimura, whose real name was Sanada Nobushige, was an incredible fighter and is best known for being the leading general on the defending side of the siege of Osaka. Sanada is known as a hero and has even been called the #1 hero in Japan. Unfortunately, the summer siege of Osaka Castle was his last, where his haunting last words come from. He ended up being mortally struck, and this is when he stumbled out onto the field while removing his helmet. This is when he said the words, quote, "I am Sanada Nobushige, no doubt an adversary quite worthy of you, but I am exhausted and can fight no longer. Go on, take my head as your trophy." These truly...
Oh my god, dude. Oh, that is crazy. Oh man, oh no. Oh, just like try to scenario. Like I don't want to be like insensitive about it, but like if you scenario in that, bro, like it's like you just what? Nah, I'm not gonna even go there, bro. I'm not gonna do it.
Might be some of the coolest last words ever, and that is sincerely a reflection of the type of warrior he was.
Scary.
In our number 5 spot today, we have Sir Philip Sidney. Sir Philip Sidney was born in November of 1554 and was an English poet and soldier, and is one of the most prominent figures of the Elizabethan era. In 1586, he joined Sir John Norris in the Battle of Zutphen in the fight against the Spanish, but it was during this battle that he was shot in the thigh, which would ultimately lead to his death. One of the most well-known stories about Sir Philip Sidney is when he was lying wounded next to another soldier who was also wounded. He spoke his last words to the other soldier when he was giving him his water. He said, "Take it. Thy need is greater than mine." It seems as though he must have known that he was about to pass, but it also shows the kind of person he was, which seems to be a very noble person. He certainly left a legacy, considering we are still here talking about him today. In our number 4 spot today, we have John Sedgwick. John was born in 1813 and was a military officer and Union Army general during the American Civil War. On May 9th, 1864, he and his men were at Spotsylvania Courthouse, and he was directing different placements when Confederate sharpshooters, who were around 1,000 yards away, began shooting at them. This, of course caused for some of John's men to duck for cover like any regular human being would when being shot at. I'm not exactly sure why, but John seemed to have been less concerned with the shots and more concerned with the soldiers taking cover, and he continued to strut around and said, quote, "I am ashamed of you. They couldn't hit an elephant at this distance." It was unfortunately just a few moments later that he was fatally struck by a bullet just under his left eye. His chief of staff, Martin T. McMahon, was close to him and heard his last words and tried to catch him as he fell. Medical personnel were of course called as quickly as possible, but unfortunately he never regained consciousness. In our number 3 spot today, we have Henri de la Tour d'Auvergne. Henri was a French general who has gone down in history as one of the greatest military commanders in modern history. During the Dutch War in the summer campaign in Salzburg on July 27th, 1675, Henri was struck by one of the first shots. I believe it was also a cannonball, so it was just really not a good scene. He laid on the ground, barely able to breathe, when he uttered his last words, which were, quote, "I did not mean to be killed today." Aside from that being very honest, it's also quite sad. I always like to picture...
No, that's sad, yeah.
Wait,
who's the most scariest one of y'all? So far for me,
for you and your hair.
it's the Japan one. The Japan one, when you talking about take his head,
people's final moments is peaceful, or just hope that they have no idea what's happening, but this was of course not the case for him. After his passing, when his death was announced, people all over were mourning the loss, as he was an incredibly well-respected man. In our number 2 spot today, we have Jan Žižka. Jan is a hero in Czech and was lovingly nicknamed One-Eyed Žižka after he lost one and then both eyes during battle. He is still regarded as one of the most prominent military leaders despite living so long ago, which certainly is quite a legacy. There was quite a bit of time during his life where he and his men were fighting against King Sigismund, who is the king of Bohemia. Jan didn't end up passing away in battle, however. He actually died of the plague in 1492. After his passing, his men called themselves orphans because they felt like they had lost their father, and if that doesn't speak to the kind of leader he was, this next bit definitely will. It has been recorded that his last words were, quote, "Make my skin into drumheads for the Bohemian cause."
Why? Why? Nah. Oh no. Oh no. Oh my. That's crazy. That's crazy. I got a headache, by the way, too, y'all. Now that's crazy though. That's different. That's different. Nah, I don't know. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Well, kind of gross in thought. I think it definitely shows his commitment and passion.
They said recorded. Like, how did they record that? I guess you mean
and how he wanted to lead his men into battle any way he could, even after his passing. In our number 1 spot today, we have Maynard L. Beamy Beamsdorfer. Maynard was a World War II hero who luckily went on to live a very long life after his duty was over. He ended up passing away at the age of 92, and really, who could be upset at making it that far in life, especially when you survived such a high-risk job? He passed away in 2016 and was thankfully surrounded by his family, which truly makes his
death, say he kind of look recent, like, you know what I mean, like more
one of the most pleasant on this list, which I am very glad about. His final words spoken to his family were, quote, "Did I do good?" I think that is both very sweet and quite sad at the same time. It's wonderful that he was able to be around family, and I am certain they assured him that he did, in fact, do very good. I hope in his final moments he really did feel proud of himself, and I hope when he slipped away, he knew the answer to his question. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thanks so much for checking it out. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and I will see you all again soon, I'm sure. Bye!
That's kind of crazy. The Japan one really threw me off. But the one he said turn my skin into drum, that's crazy. That's crazy. Them two are most definitely questionable. Them two, them some questionable.